I see that we have one person here. If you could let me know if you can hear me and who you are, I'm curious. Hopefully, the others will be joining us soon. I haven't heard of anybody who said they can't be here tonight, but I do know there were some nights that some people weren't able to make it for different reasons. Hopefully, tonight my email actually got out to everybody so that everyone has the link. But I still see only you guys. Perfect. Thank you for letting me know that you hear me. We'll wait just a couple minutes. You guys are currently still the only ones on here right now. So I'll give just a couple minutes for others to join us. Otherwise, we're going to start with just us. It's Friday night, so maybe everybody's out celebrating the end of the week. Or maybe everybody else is having a party together and we weren't invited. All right, well, we are going to get started. Even if we only have a couple of you here. So let's look a little bit about just a little bit of review from last night. Let's see. Okay, so this is something we've looked at all week, actually. And what does the Bible say about money? So here are 7 of the things that we have talked about specifically, although realizing that the Bible talks about a lot more than just this. But these are some of the bigger concepts: stewardship, contentment, diligence and hard work, generosity and giving, avoiding greed, avoiding debt, and trusting in God. And just as we talked about how all of these things are somehow connected to budgeting, which we talked about on Tuesday, and debt, which we talked about yesterday, everything on this list is also connected to the topics that we're going to talk about tonight, which are investing, saving, and giving. So if you just look at that list, you can think about how all of those things are either impacted by investing, saving, and giving, or investing and saving and giving are a result of one of these things. For example, giving generously is obviously something that results in giving. Being a good steward is something that hopefully results in saving and investing and giving, all three. So that's just a review of the topics that we looked at from the Bible and how they relate to what we're talking about. We have talked about value-based values-based money management, and how our expenses will reveal our values even if we don't realize it. Now, along those same lines, your saving, investing, and giving habits will reveal your values. And so, even if you don't consciously think about what your values are, even if you don't rehearse them, you reveal what your values are in the way you spend your money, in the way you save it, in the way you invest it, and in the ways that you give it. And a lot of people struggle with money because they spend it on whatever they want, or they save it and invest it very diligently and reveal values of financial security and other things like that. Some people give a lot and reveal values of the things that they think are important that they give to, or just that they find a lot of joy in giving. In many cases, people have bad values and bad priorities, and it results in bad spending habits, bad saving habits, sometimes bad investing habits. People trying to get rich really fast will invest in something that they think has the promise of doing that, and then they lose it all. And they had bad priorities. Trying to get rich quick does not usually work, and most people end up ruined when they try that. So that's one example there. So we need to have a healthy perspective on life and money. Yesterday we also talked about how debt can't always be avoided, but in many cases it can. Especially the older you get in life, the more you save up and the more you are prepared for the things that come along. We talked about debt that I don't recommend, but you can decide for yourself whether or not you think a certain kind is good or not, and why. We talked about credit card debt, student loans, car loans, and I strongly recommend not being in debt to family members, and if you are, that it's very, very, very small amounts. Not being in debt hundreds or even thousands of dollars to someone else in your family. I talked about a mortgage and how that's often viewed as a good kind of debt, including by myself, and how if we do have a mortgage, though, if we have a loan for a house, ideally we pay it off as soon as we can, and that way we don't have any debt. We talked about credit cards, why I like credit cards, and I gave a few examples of the ways that I use them. They're convenient, they have sign-up bonuses, ongoing rewards, ongoing benefits. And then we talked about how to use credit cards and how you want to use it like a debit card in the sense that you're only spending the amount of money that you know you have in the bank, paying your bills early and often, and setting up auto pay just in case you forget to pay, and stick to your budget. And if you can't do those things, then you really should not be having a credit card, because you'll get yourself in a lot of trouble very quickly. So that was a quick review of what we have been looking at. Now we're going to focus on saving, investing, and giving. So I would like you in the chat, and it looks like we're still missing everybody else, but that's okay. Write down how you would define saving or investing or giving. You can pick one of those, or you can do all three. How do you define those terms, and what are the purposes or benefits of each of those actions? So write down some answers there in the chat. How would you define saving, investing, and giving? And what are the purposes or the benefits of saving your money and investing it and giving it? So I will give a few moments for you to answer that. How do you define saving, investing, and giving? And I see that you wrote earlier that you all have savings accounts. That's a great place to start. Some people don't even have those yet, so it's great that at your age you have already started to save money, put it aside. And of course, you can dip into it for different things that you want. Hopefully, it's not going down to zero on a regular basis. I'm really surprised that we don't have anyone else. But I sent them all the same emails, so they must just be busy. Saving is putting away. Investing is money that you get back more than you put in. Very good definition. And giving is a charitable donation. Yeah, very good. I'm going to give you here my definitions to go along with yours. I put down saving is keeping. Saving thinks short term. Investing is growing. Investing thinks long term. And giving is blessing. Giving thinks about others. When you save money, you're keeping your money safe so that you can use it later. And yeah, I did right here, it's short term. It can also be long term. But typically, savings are more for the short term and investing is more for the long term. Because the longer money sits by itself just in savings, the more it tends to lose value. And that also can happen with investments. But the goal is that generally investments will go up in value, not down. An investment is something that provides more value than what you gave for it. Or obviously that's the goal, that it would give you something more than what you gave for it in the first place. The goal is to give something, and then when you receive it back or receive the results of it in the future, that they are even more than what you spent. And then giving is when you share something that you have, and the goal is never to get it back. Unlike investing, you give it for a cause, for a charitable purpose, and without thinking or hoping that you will get something in return. All three of these are good. All three of them are very different. In fact, you can even think of saving and investing as being two opposite things. They're related, but in many ways they're also completely different, because saving is keeping and it goes down in value the longer you keep it, and investing grows and when you don't keep it, and the longer you're not holding on to it, the more it grows. If you want to think of an example of this, we go back to the parable of the talents, where the manager gave, or the owner gave talents, money, to all of his servants. He went away, and two of them invested it, and it grew, and one of them did not invest it, and he gave him back exactly what he was bestowed with. And the owner was unhappy because, yeah, he got all his money back, but that wasn't the purpose. He was supposed to grow it. And he did something completely different. It wasn't similar, it was completely different, opposite of what the owner wanted, and so he was punished because of it. So think of all of these things as all being good, but all being very different in their purposes. Now, when we think about money and saving money, one thing we need to remember is money is meant to be spent. That's why we have it. You can save money and hoard it and do whatever, but ultimately, just having money itself doesn't make your life any better because money is supposed to be used for something. And now that doesn't mean that you just go and spend it. That doesn't mean you intentionally live paycheck to paycheck all the time, because that's not a good habit either. But as much as possible, we should use our money for things that will provide us more value in return. And also, because money is given to us from God, we should want to use it to provide value for others. So not just for ourselves in saving and investing, but also for others and giving. So we're going to talk about each of these individually now. We'll start with saving and the power of saving. So when you save money, obviously, you can be prepared for emergencies and unexpected situations. I mentioned last night how donating plasma and saving all the money from that, it's not growing in value on its own, but it's there in case I need something really, really fast in the case of an emergency. So you want to save up a good amount of money for your emergency savings. And again, the goal there is not just to have it, but that you would spend it someday. Not because you want an emergency to happen, but because you know things do happen. And so when that time comes, you're thankful that you were diligent and saved up money for it. Saving can help you make large purchases and achieve short-term big goals. If you are not saving money on a regular basis, those large purchases generally will not come along, or you will make those large purchases and go into debt to do it, which is what we don't want. Saving can create financial security and peace of mind, and saving can help you avoid debt. All good things. Now, when we think about how to save, the most basic way is to put it in a piggy bank at home, or a glass jar, or a mug, or something. But one of the better ways to do it is to open a bank account and put your money in there and let the bank keep it safe. Usually it's insured up to like $100,000 or something. So that's one way to save, and most people, I think, have a bank account. That doesn't mean everybody has money in their bank account, but I think most people at least have one. Then, as I was talking about, I have multiple bank accounts, and one of the reasons is because I can put money in a specific bank account and not touch it, and that can act as a place for me to save up for larger purchases, or as a way for me to save for emergencies. And so you can set up another bank account at a different bank and just have the money being auto transferred every week, every month, whatever you want. $10 here at a time, $20, whatever you want. So then over time it builds up, but you're not seeing that money in your regular bank account and thinking that you can just spend. And it adds up quickly. So that's really nice. You could buy a fireproof, waterproof bag or box. I think I have mine in the other room, so I don't have it here to show right now. I think it's in the room where baby Jaden's sleeping. But if you go on Amazon or eBay, you can buy these large, like vinyl or something bags that they have zippers and covers with Velcro, and they're both waterproof and fireproof. So you could buy a safe, and you could put money in there. That's what my parents do. But we don't want to invest in a safe, and for the most part, we don't expect someone to break into our house. If they do, they have bigger things to steal than that. But in the case of a fire or anything here in our house, Anything that we put in this bag that we bought for like $25 will be safe. And so we put tax documents in there, birth certificates. You can put cash in there. Anything that you want to keep safe. That's another way that you can save money just at home. And let's see, follow a budget. You can build into your budget savings, which you should do, and that will actually help you save more quickly and diligently. And then always think long term. Now, I know I did say that saving is short term, but if you think long term and say, okay, I'm saving this not just for things that I might need in a few months or in a few years, but once your savings account gets up to a certain amount, you can take some of that savings and use it for investments. And then you are replenishing your savings account from your budget, and your investments are now growing, whereas they weren't growing while they were in savings. So always think long term. You want to get to the point where you can start taking from your savings to go into your investments. How much should you save? This is different for every person, but I like Dave Ramsey's recommendations. He says to start with a $1,000 emergency fund and then eventually build up enough for 3 to 6 months of expenses. Now, as a teenager, this is a little different. It's still not bad to have a $1,000 emergency fund, but you probably don't need that much right now because typically emergencies that might happen in your family are family things. And so your family is covering it or helping to cover it. But first, let's say, for example, you were to get a car. A $1,000 emergency fund is a great thing in case your car breaks down and you need a major repair. Or you need a nice amount of money to start with to get another car. So it just depends on where you are at life, whether or not you need that $1,000. But especially once you get into your adult years and you're living on your own, and you want that, and you want to have 3 to 6 months of expenses in case you lose your job or you get hurt and you can't do your job. Those are some examples where you never know when you might need it. Job security isn't always a thing, no matter what job you have. And then always be looking for things on your budget that you can cut back on. So you've made your budget, you follow it every month, you look at it every month, and I would say while you're doing this, look for areas that you can cut back. For example, you look at your phone bill and you say, do I really value my phone enough to pay for the plan I have? Or can I go to the next lower one for $10, $15 less per month? Over the course of a year, that's $120, $180 that you can save for something else. Maybe you have subscriptions to different things. Netflix. Do I really value Netflix enough to be paying monthly for it, or should I cancel it and save that money? Food. Let's say you have a $500 a month budget for food, and you say, okay, this month can I cut it back by $10, $20? Can I have a $480 budget? Try it for a month. If it works, keep it. Great. That saves you money, and maybe adjust it again the next month. See if you can do even less. Or if you just say, man, this isn't working, then you can still go back to the other one. But if you're always looking at your budget and looking for ways that you can cut back, in the long run, it's going to add up and save you a good amount of money, and you'll be thankful that you did that. Especially in the area of investing, because when we start looking at the numbers for investments, the earlier on in life that you're saving smaller amounts, the bigger the impact it has later on in life. So if you need to save more money right now, or you want to invest but you don't have the money to invest yet, start looking at your budget and finding ways that you can cut back just a little bit in different areas. And once you have success with that, see if you can do it again. And there will be times when you have to increase it, of course. But see where you can cut back and how much you can, and make that a regular habit. All right, moving on to investing. What are some examples of investments? There are several things, of course. If you think of anything right now, go ahead and write that in the chat. What is an example of an investment? And I don't expect a list of 20 different things, but I'm sure you could come up with at least one or two things that you say, I know that this is something where when I put an amount of money in, or I spend an amount of money on this thing, I expect to receive back more value than I put in. Cars are not an example of this normally. There are some times when weird things happen and they do go up in value, but that's not normally the case. Now, you could say a car is an investment in the sense that your car allows you to drive to work, and because you drive to work, then you make money there, and without the car, you wouldn't be able to do that. That's one of the only ways I would say that you could look at a car as an investment, because it enables you to make more money. But generally, it's one of those things we don't see as an asset. It's a liability, something that over time is going to go down in value. Okay, IRA, short for investment or individual retirement account. Good. Some other examples of investments would be stocks, individual stocks, bonds, mutual funds, which are a collection of stocks and bonds. Home, good. See that? Definitely. That's one of the best investments anybody can ever make. Precious metals, gold, silver. You can collect them physically, or you can actually buy them in the form of stocks. Real estate, which would include the home. Here are some other things we might not normally think of as investments. Business training. So if you go to a training that helps you do your job better so that you can get paid more, that's an investment. Sometimes school could be considered an investment. If you're going to school specifically for the purpose of learning something that will help you get another job or a better job, that can be an investment. Professional equipment for your business. Now, normally those things will also go down in value over time, but they could allow you to do even more business than you could without that thing. We have some nice professional cameras that we use for photography, and we consider those investments because they allow us to take better pictures than if we were just using our phones to photograph a wedding or something. Or in some senses, we wouldn't be able to do those things without the equipment. No one would hire us. Let's see. Garden seeds. You take a seed, you plant it in a garden, and it grows into tomatoes, corn, squash. That's an investment because you're taking something small that you didn't pay much for, and it's coming back in much greater value. And then people. People can be investments. When you invest in a person and you make their life better, then they can go on and do the same for somebody else. And we see this in ministry where discipling people is a form of investment. So investments prepare you for retirement and future generations. Now talking specifically about money. Investments can help others achieve long-term goals. So you could invest in your child's future college education. You can buy bonds and give them to your children or grandchildren. So you can use investing to help other people achieve long-term goals. You can create financial security and peace of mind for yourself, just like when you save, except this is more long-term, not just for the now. And investing can help you avoid future debt. Let's say you get to be 70 years old and you run out of all your money. Now you have to start taking on debt late in life because you don't have money to provide for yourself, and you probably cannot work anymore because you physically aren't in the shape to be able to do that. And so investing can help you avoid future debt. Also, investing is thinking about others, not just yourself. Because if you were to get later in life and you need to rely on other people to pay your bills, that kind of a thing, now you're a small burden to somebody else. And so by investing, you're also thinking about those around you, not just your own well-being. How to invest. I'm going to give you several ways. I'm not going to have time to get into all of these things. And there are a few things on here I don't understand very well. But a lot of things here I have actually researched and learned about them, or I'm actually invested in some of them myself. So the first one here is open and fund a Roth IRA. Now there are multiple types of IRAs, individual retirement accounts. The traditional IRA, you take money that you've earned and you put it in this IRA, and you don't have to pay any taxes on it until you start to withdraw it in retirement. Then you have to pay taxes on it at that time. And so let's say you save up money, you invest it, and when you come to retire, you have $1 million. You have to pay taxes on that $1 million, which would be a lot of taxes. A Roth IRA, which I recommend, and which Alyssa and I both have, is a retirement account where you put in money that you've already paid taxes on, and you can put up to a maximum of $6,000 a year. So I put in $6,000 for this year, for 2023. I paid taxes on that, and so technically I probably had more than $6,000, paid the taxes on it, and now I have $6,000 left over that I can put into this investment account. And when I retire someday, I don't have to pay any taxes. All of that money, I have $1 million in my Roth IRA someday, I get to pull it out completely tax-free. And so that's why I say a Roth IRA is better than a traditional IRA, because you pay the tax now, and later on you get all of that money and don't have to worry about any taxes. Like I said, you can put in a maximum of $6,000 a year per person, as long as you have a job and you're making that much money. So let's say you have a job and you're only making $4,000 a year. You can only put $4,000 into a Roth IRA. You cannot put in another $2,000 that someone gave you as a gift. We're going to talk more about the Roth IRA in a little bit. You can buy a mix of mutual funds or ETFs, and I'm not going to explain what an ETF is if you don't already know. It's just think of it as it's a lot like a mutual fund. So you can buy a mix of those that have a track record of consistent returns that outpace inflation. So what I mean by that is you get a Roth IRA or you have a 401k or whatever it is you have, and you're allowed to choose what kinds of assets you have in there. You want to choose stocks or funds or whatever that get a higher return every year on average than inflation. So right now, the goal for inflation, the government wants it to be around 3% or less, 2 to 3%. And right now it's at 5%, and hopefully going down. But you want to find an investment, a mutual fund or an ETF that is better than that. So 6% or higher. Ideally, you find something in the 9-10%. And if you do your research really well, you might find something in the 11-12%. And so you want that to be what's in your portfolio, because if you're getting something that's giving you a return of 3% a year and inflation's at 3%, you are not keeping up, and your money doesn't grow in value. You have to go faster than what your money is losing in value. So hopefully that makes sense. And this is why investments are generally more what you want to do than just a savings account, because I know right now savings accounts are a little higher because of different things going on in our economy. But generally, savings accounts do not keep up with inflation, and that's why you need an investment account. Maximize any investment benefits provided by your employer. Not all employers have investment benefits, and if you are self-employed, you have zero. But if you work for somebody else, oops, sorry about that. My computer was trying to go to sleep. If you have an employer that provides a 401k or something like that, and they also provide a matching funds for money that you put in there, let's say they will match up to $200 that you put in, do it, because that's a 100% gain on your money every single time. So if they say, okay, if you put in $200, we'll put in an additional $200, now you've got $400. And so always, if you have something like that in a job, do it. Max it out. If you can go more than that, even better. But for sure, go up to that amount, because that is 100% gain on your money instantly. Buy a house. That is one of the most common forms of real estate for the average person. So that is an investment that normally goes up in value. Diversify. Don't put all your money in investments. Don't put all your money in houses. Some people back in 2008, they bought multiple houses because the market was great and the value of houses just go up. And then the economy crashed, the housing market, and they lost money. So you want to have multiple different investments. So a retirement account, a house, other things, hopefully. So you want to diversify. You can research alternative investments like bonds, real estate, precious metals, and by real estate here I mean in addition to your home. So maybe you someday have enough money you can buy a second house and you can rent it out, or you can use it as an Airbnb. But do your research. Don't just do it because you know that it works for some people. Bonds are one of those things I don't have and I don't understand much about, but they are a safer source of income generally than stocks. Precious metals, gold and silver. I don't have any physical gold and silver. I do have some stock in silver. Also, understand the risks involved and select the appropriate risk levels for your future goals and where you are in life. If you're younger in life right now, you're in your teens, you're in your early 20s, you can afford to put money into a mutual fund and leave it there for 40 years, 45 years, whatever. You can do that and not worry about if it goes up or down significantly in a year, because you know that you're looking way down the road. You're not looking at right now. Now, if you're 50, you're 55, you're getting close to retirement, you might not want to put all your money in a mutual fund that could go up a lot or could go down a lot, because, for example, all the people who were retiring this year, their money went way down in value, their stocks went way down in value last year. So now their retirements might have lost a third of its value just last year. So as you get closer and closer to retirement, you want to be more and more conservative to make sure you're not risking more money than you can afford to lose. But early on in life, you can take greater risks because that you can earn that money back as you go along. So understand the risks. Don't just invest in anything you don't understand. Even if I tell you I have a Roth IRA and I have stocks in that, don't do it just because I do it or because I said that it's a good idea. You want to understand it yourself and know everything about it. You can start a business. That's a great investment if you do it right. You can start a business and make extra income that way. And of course, that also has its risks. Do not try to get rich quick. As I said earlier, that's usually a recipe for not success, failure. And do not make emotional decisions. So you put money in stocks or mutual funds and next year the stock market crashes. Don't take all your money out because now you're losing it. Leave it in there. Let the market get back to normal. But yeah, and then let's say everything's going really well in the stock market or in the housing market. Don't buy all the expensive stuff just because it's only going up, because chances are it could come down soon. So what you want, the key to this is to invest on a regular basis. Don't just pick one time and then another time next year, and do it on a monthly basis so that everything levels out equally and grows slowly. And don't do things because your emotions get the best of you. Now here we're going to look at some numbers. When should you start investing? My recommendation is to start researching tonight if you aren't already invested in something, and start investing now. And for anybody who is not watching this here tonight and doesn't have investments, they're missing out on what I think is one of the best parts of this whole week, and that's looking at these numbers and understanding how they work so that you can put them to work for you. So let's just say that right now you are 15 and you start investing $1,000 a year for the next 50 years in a Roth IRA. The one that I mentioned where you only pay the tax at the beginning, you don't have to at the end. You start investing $1,000 a year, so a little more than $80 every month for the next 50 years. And that Roth IRA, let's say you have mutual funds in there that get a 9% average return. By the time you're 65, you will have $815,000. That's how much it will have grown to. Now, let's say that you start doing that now, and in 10 years at age 25, you get a full-time job. And so instead of $1,000 a year, now you're putting in $6,000 a year. You're putting in $500 every month. In that same Roth IRA, and with the money that you put in between now and then adding that additional $6,000 a year with the same 9% average return, by the time you turn 65, you'll have $2.5 million. And remember on Monday when we talked about this, we looked at some numbers early on and said, how much money do you need to have saved by the time you retire in 50 years? You will need about $2.5 million. And so if you start now by putting in $1,000 a year with your job, and by age 25 you start investing $6,000 a year, by the time you are 65, and not even counting the house you might buy or any other retirement benefits you might get from work, if you were just solely looking at this one investment and you just consistently put in that money every year, every month, and you have a mutual fund, you did your research and it gets that return and that stays consistent. Some years it's 20%, some years it's 2%, whatever. You'll have $2.5 million at that age, and you can just you can live the rest of your life on the interest from that. The interest from $2.5 million is a lot of money. And you can just live off that for the rest of your life, and you can then give that money, will it to somebody else in your family. or some other cause. Now, let's say you wait until 35 to start investing, and you do the full $6,000 a year starting today. In that same Roth IRA, with a 9% average return, by the time you turn 65, you'll only have $818,000. So that's why you want to start now. Because look at that. The first example, if you're 15 today and you start at only $1,000 a year, for 50 years you have $815,000 by the time you are 65. But if you decide, I'm going to wait till I'm more established in life, I have a better job, whatever. So let's say you don't start until 2043, 20 years from now. At the age 35, you put in $6,000 a year into the same account, and you will have about the same amount as if you had only put in $1,000 starting now. So that's some crazy math there, but those are real numbers. And a lot of young people don't realize this, that if they can just put away a little bit starting now, they will set themselves up for success big time in the future. You could even, if you're able to do better than that, let's say you could put away $1,500 a year starting now. By age 50, you could even stop putting money in there and just let it keep growing what you've already done. And instead of putting in an additional $6,000 a year, and now you just use that for something else, and you'll still have more money probably by age 65 than the person who waits. So you want to start investing as soon as you possibly can. My screensaver. Okay. If you want to look at more of these numbers, go to calculator.net/Roth IRA calculator.html. You can put in your own numbers and look at it yourself. Let's talk about giving, the power of giving. When you give, you can help other people with emergencies. So now you're not just being prepared, having your own emergency fund. Now you can help other people who might not be as prepared as you. You can help others make large purchases and achieve short-term goals. You can help others have financial security and peace of mind. You can get others started down that path. And you can empower ministries and causes that you care about. And that's one of the biggest reasons to give, is to help out those who maybe cannot just come up with money as easily. But when there are people that come together and support different causes, charities, ministries, they can do a lot together. How to give. I would encourage you to give to your church's offerings, whatever amount that may be. When you are giving, you are helping support the ministry of your church and its impact on the community and the ministry of others around the world. You can give to people who are giving up work to do ministry. And what I mean by that is, for example, a missionary comes and they present at our church. They are giving up perhaps a full-time job here to go dedicate their lives to serving others. So in that way, you can give to them to go work. Or let's say a friend of yours or a family member, a cousin, let's say, is going on a ministry trip, a missions trip for 4 weeks to South America. You know that they're having to give up 4 weeks of working in addition to paying for their trip. So you can give them some money to help be a part of their ministry and to support them in their work. Always be prepared to give. I don't like to carry around cash. I prefer to use my credit cards. But I do have a few dollars in my wallet so that if I were to go to a restaurant and tip somebody, I can do that. Tipping is a way of giving. Or let's say you go to church and there's a missionary there that presents. and you just want to give to them, and you're prepared because you're always thinking that way. You just have a $20 bill that you keep in there for times like this. If you're prepared to give, it's easier to do it. Diversify. Just like with investments, don't give all to the same thing. Don't give all your money to the church. Give some of your money to other causes, like other missionaries. And there are times you might be giving to something, and then they might change the way they do something, and you're going to wish, why did I give them all this money, and this is how it turns out. Now, hopefully that wouldn't happen with your church or with a ministry, but sometimes it does. And so I would strongly encourage you to diversify your giving. We give to church, but we also like to support some missionaries. We have some friends who are doing ministry overseas, and we support them monthly. And we also support Alyssa's parents monthly because they're missionary supported. And so we are diversifying our giving in that way. Another thing is you can open saving investing accounts for your children and put a little bit in there each month. There are so many different ways to do this. You can do it for college education. What I have done for Jaden, last year I opened up an investment account that's not for college. It's just a normal account that he can use for anything. But I put $100 a month in there, and I manage it. I do something kind of like mutual funds in there, and it's growing so that someday I can give him that as a gift, and I don't even have to come up with it at the time because I'm doing it little by little over time. And so that's one way that you can save and invest for your children or your grandchildren for different purposes, is to open a savings or investment account for them. And then we find this concept in Ephesians chapter 4, which says, "Let him who stole steal no longer, but rather let him work so that he can give." Sometimes you have just enough money for yourself, but you want to work a little extra so that you can give to others. And that's a very noble thing to do. Doesn't mean you work 100 hours a week, but maybe instead of 40 hours a week, you work 43 hours a week, so that you have to give to purposes and causes that you are passionate about, things that you value. So just some review from the whole week. Those who fail to plan to fail. You've probably heard that before, and we talked about how budgets are plans. So those who fail to budget to fail. Let's look at another concept here. Wise people make plans, and they follow them. Making a budget is one step, but choosing to stick to that budget is what makes a difference. Choosing not to go into debt is nice, but actually following through and not actually going into debt, not spending more on your credit card than you have, is wise. Let's see. Good money management begins by having the right mindset toward money, and that was my goal this week, was to help open your eyes to all things money. And there are so many things we didn't get to talk about because of time. We could talk about how to buy a car, how to save for college if you want to go to college someday, how to find a good job. There's so many different things that we didn't talk about, but I really wanted to get across this idea of having the right mindset, figuring out what your values what your values are, and basing all of your decisions on those values and on that mindset. And I just heard this quote today, and I really like it, from Russell Brunson. He is a Christian who has started a large business, and he helps many other people get businesses started. That's what he has dedicated his life to doing. And he said, confidence comes with making and keeping commitments. So if you think about all these different things with money and you say, man, but I just don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could budget. I don't know if I could save money. I don't know if I could ever figure out how to invest it and prepare for the future. I don't know how to use a credit card well and to stay out of debt. Right now you lack confidence, but if you just start making those commitments and following through, you'll gain confidence. So I am going to make this budget and I am going to stick to it, even though I've never done this before and it feels weird and it feels restrictive. I'm going to do it anyway. And a few months later, you're going to be confident in it and you're going to do it well because you made the commitment and you stuck to it. Same thing with credit cards. I really want to buy this, but I know I don't have the money for it now. I will next month. Well, choose that you are going to do what's wise with your money and your credit card and don't go into debt. Keep those commitments and your confidence will continue to build. So I wanted to encourage you with that idea there, something that I just heard today. Write down anything else you might have learned tonight or earlier this week in the L section, the learned. What have you learned? And then here's the homework. Not for tomorrow, not for next week, because this is our last time for this week. But write down your values if you have not done that yet. Write down your financial goals and email them to me. I mean, that could be as simple as a one sentence. I want to be able to go to college someday. I want to be able to buy a car this year so that I can go to work. I want to save up $500 by the end of this summer. I want to start investing $1,000 by the end of next year. I mean, whatever. Write down one financial goal, write down multiple, and email them to me, because by doing that, you're making yourself actually think through something and commit to doing it. And once you commit to doing something and actually do it, your confidence will grow. Or maybe it's something you say, I would like to start investing. I need to save up money for it first, but I'd like to start. You let me know that, and if you want me to help you or point you in a direction where you can start learning more, I'd be glad to do that. So, yeah, if you email me a financial goal and say, this is my goal, can you help me get there? I would be so glad to do that, because this is all so important to me. Make a plan that aligns with your goals and your values. So whether that's making a budget or deciding to stop using a credit card right now until you can use it better, whatever it is, come up with some kind of a plan that's based on your goals and your values. And if you want to take a couple minutes to do this, I'd really appreciate it if you could send me a message and just let me know what's one of the most helpful things you learned this week. Because I hope to do these in the future for the youth group and church people again. But I'd like to go expand beyond that. I've already talked to some people who I know they're interested in having their kids participate in the future. So I'd like to do this again and maybe cover other topics, maybe go into greater depth on different things, maybe just do something exactly like this again. But the more I know about what was really helpful to people will help me in refining this and doing it better. So if you wouldn't mind taking the time to do that, that would be great. A lot of stuff covered tonight on investments and saving, giving. Of course, we only briefly looked at them because of the sake of time. But let me know if you have any questions. And I don't know who else is the other person in here who joined us. But let me know if you have any other questions that I could answer about anything. I'm willing to stay here as long as you want to answer some of these things. If you have any questions about the way I personally do things as far as saving and investments go, I can elaborate more on that. Or if you just want some advice on how to get started with something, maybe you don't have a bank account and you want to know where should I open one. Um, I don't know. It could be all sorts of things. I don't know exactly where everyone is at, so let me know what questions you might have, and I'm glad to answer those here while we have the time to do it. It could be even from earlier this week if you have a question about something. Ah, Joanna. So is Abigail there with you too, or was she busy tonight? Oh, and speaking of which, in that email that I sent everybody, I also sent a sample budget that I put together in Google Sheets. And the reason I did this was because I told you earlier in the week that if you could come up with a sample budget on your own, or if you could look online to put something together, that you could do that and it would help you get started. But then I was thinking today, well, why not at least give you some kind of a template that you can look at and get an idea and even put in some numbers. So I did that. And the link you have, you can't edit it, but you can save it to your own account and then edit the numbers. And so I might as well just show you something with that really quick. If I can figure out how to close this out. Let's see. I'm kind of going blind here because it's in a different screen and I can't see everything very well. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I have it in here. So I made this sheet so that what you can do, actually give me a moment, I'm going to change my view here to make it easier. Let's see. I'm going to duplicate my screen over here so that I can do this a little easier. Okay, so in here you can change these numbers to fit your income and expenses. So let's say you just got a job and you're making $200 a month. You can put that in here and it'll multiply it by 12 to give you your annual income. And then I have in here suggested percentages to begin with on some of the most common expenses. And so let's say you decide, okay, I don't have to pay housing because I live in my parents' house. So you can put that at 0%. And you can say utilities, 0%. Car insurance, maintenance, purchase. You say, well, I want a car someday, and I don't have one right now, so because I'm not paying the whatever percent for housing, I could put this at 20% that I'm saving every month. And at the bottom here, you have the total 88%, so you can figure out how many percentage points you need to add up to get to 100. And this will give you your monthly budget over here, and it will give you your annual budget over here. And so you say, I want to save 20% of my money every month. That's $40. And that is $480 a year. So that's how much money I will save to get a car. And you say, well, that's not enough, so I'm going to raise this to 30%. Okay, that gets me a little closer. So you can change all of these numbers to fit your situation. Let's say you're farther along in life and you get $500 a week, so that's $2,000 a month. Here's your annual income, $24,000. I'm just taking about worst case scenario, 25% is taken out for tax, and so you have to take that into account. So now 21%, that'll be monthly $420 for rent or mortgage or insurance, all those things. Groceries I put in here as 8%, so in your monthly budget that'd be $160. You can change any of these. Don't change any of these numbers. Don't change any of these. Only change the monthly income and all of these percentages, and it will do the math for you. So this is what I had it at originally. And you may even do this because budgeting is hard. Once you start putting all the numbers together and you say, man, 1% for clothing, maybe I spend more than that per month, but where else am I going to adjust so that I have more? Or maybe you say, my rent is for sure going to be more than $700 a month. So you can adjust all these and figure out where you need to cut back in order for that to add up correctly. You can also, if you want to, you can add in things here. So let's say we want to add in money for, let's see, what do we have? Vacation. There's no vacation in here yet. So pick one of these and right click and add insert one row above, and then put in vacation, and let's just say for now 2%. And then go over here and copy this number and paste it here. Or let's see. Oh, here's what I need to do. Let's go back. So you want to copy this row, paste it here, and then change everything. So 2% for vacation. That's $67 a month. So that way in a year I can take an $800 vacation. But that puts me over budget. So I need to cut back somewhere. So you can do all of this on your own. After you just open it up, go File, make a copy, and save it to your account, and then you can start editing it, because I made it so that you can't edit the master copy that I sent you. And yeah, and then you can have fun with that. Maybe figure out how much money you need to start making. If you want to start putting away, let's say you only make $200 a week, let's say. So that's $800 a month. And so investments, if I were to put 10% away every month, that'd be $80. That's $960 at the end of the month. So that means that's almost $1,000 a year. Well, now let's go over here to our Roth IRA calculator that I told you about. And I have $0 to start. And I'll put away $960 a year in my Roth IRA, assuming a 9% return. I'm 15, I want to retire at 65. Here would be my balance at age 65, $782,480. Let's say I decide I'm going to work a little extra. I want to make $400 a week, so $1,600 a month. and I want to put away 10% of that for investments. That's $19.20 a year. Or let's say I don't have to do housing right now because I live at home. So let's actually put this way up there, 31% of my income. Oh, $5,952. Okay, now I'm getting close to that $6,000 max. Let's put away $5,952, and let's say you're 16, just for fun. And we'll calculate that. Okay, if I start putting away this every year, what is that? That's $496 a month. By age 65, I will have $4.4 million if I keep that rate up of this every year, sorry. So that's pretty cool. That should be more than enough for you to retire on. So yeah, if you want to use that budget thing that I sent you, you're welcome to do that, and hopefully it can be a help to you. Any questions that have come up here? Let me know if there are any other questions that I could answer while I'm here, or if you want me to go back and look at something else there on that screen and show you. Or if you save it and you start messing around with numbers and you mess it up and you don't know how to fix it, if you just send me, say, I want these categories in there, then I'd be glad to modify one just for you, and then send it to you, and you can put in your numbers. You don't have to tell me all the numbers. I can just make sure all the categories are in there for you and that the math will all work itself out correctly, and I'll send it back. I'd be glad to do that too if that would be a help to you. Joanna, yes, these are going to stay on YouTube. I am going to send you an email with the links, because I don't know if I'm going to keep these. They are in a folder or a playlist right now. I don't know if I'm going to keep them public, especially if I do another one. I don't want to keep all of them up there. I would probably just keep the newer ones up there, so that the most recent is available. But I am going to send you an email with all of these links, because I think when you were signed up, you requested the recordings, so then you can view them whenever you want. Or like Abigail, who wasn't able to see tonight, she can watch it later too. Yep. Any questions? I did not start investing until 2017. So 6 years ago I started. And I wish I had started like back in 2005, because I was making money back then. I worked at camp during the summer and I lifeguarded at the YMCA. And so, I mean, if I had started putting away $1,000 a year at that time, things would look really, really nice right now. But I didn't do that, and so I'm playing a little catch up right now. I know I'm not the only one, of course. But I am glad that I did start when I did, and I'm learning a lot right now. And so the only thing is I do wish I had started sooner. Any more questions? You can always send them to me later. Ask me in person when you see me. I can answer them there as well. Okay, well, I don't see anything else. So I am going to say goodbye unless something just shows up at the last moment right before I hit end, in which case I'll stop and I'll answer it. But otherwise, thanks for joining me this week. Thank you for taking time out of your busy week to spend with me and to learn some things. And I do hope that I can help you more in the future with anything else that you might want to know. Never be afraid to ask. Even if you don't want to tell me like specific numbers, that's fine. I don't have to know specific numbers, but I can give advice, or I can share resources, point you in the direction of someone who knows more on different topics so that you can learn from them. Glad to help however I can. Otherwise, I really appreciate you just doing this with me, and we'll see you later. Bye.